Hi guys, my name is Swapnil Tripathi and welcome back to College Dunya Study Abroad. Today we have Aastha Desai with us, जिन्होंने just अभी अपना master's degree खत्म करा है from US and she has pursued her master's degree in integrated marketing communication from the Northwestern University. काफी exciting and काफी detailed conversation है. So make sure that you stay till the end of this video. Subscribe to our channel so that बाकी study abroad related videos आपसे miss ना हो. Before we move forward, if you have a dream of studying abroad and you have questions and queries around it, go to the first link in our description box. अपने basic details भरो and our expert counselors will reach out to you in just 48 to 72 hours. We also have two very interesting offerings, the visa guarantee package and the offer letter guarantee package. So don't forget to check them out. Now let's move ahead in our video. Hi Astha, what's up? Do you want to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Okay, sure. So, मेरा नाम आस्था है. मैंने मुंबई में NMIMS से BPA किया है. Third year में my specialization was marketing. मेरा GPA 3.6 के आसपास था out of 4. और उसके बाद मैंने 2 साल जॉब की है. Actually 1 साल का प्लान था, लेकिन कोविड की वजह से मैंने अपना नॉर्थवेस्टर्न का एडमिशन डिफर किया था. I worked as assistant brand manager for a sleepwear and athleisure company called Sweet Dreams. Around मेरे उसके बाद, of course, I went to the US. I went to Northwestern. I finished my graduation in 2022, मतलब पिछले साल. And मैं इंडिया वापस आ चुकी हूँ and I am currently working in Mumbai at a startup called Batsons.
Okay, तो देखो अभी I have a lot of questions related to कि तुम इंडिया भी क्यों वापस आ गई हो, right? But we'll get on to those topics a little later in the interview. My first question would be, why did you wanted to pursue MS in integrated marketing communication from abroad and not from India? India also has a lot of decent colleges, right? IIMs है, MICA है.
Yeah.
Why not India?
I think from marketing as a field, US बहुत आगे है. In terms of उनके पास वो जो टाइप का क्रिएटिव काम करते हैं, तो उनके पास जो टूल्स है, जो डेटा एनालिसिस है, उनका जो पूरा प्रोसेस है, there's no country, there's no place that is more capitalistic than the United States. And हमें पसंद हो या ना हो, marketing has a lot to do with capitalism. So my plan was to learn from a place that's, I think, at least a decade ahead of us, and then come back and apply the knowledge here. So मुझे पता था कि मुझे masters करना है. So in all honesty, मैं Google पे गई और मैंने लिखा masters in marketing degrees. And of course बहुत लंबा लिस्ट है, और आप ऐसा कुछ लिखोगे तो आपको US सबसे पहले दिखेगा. And मैं हर एक कोर्स का करिकुलम देखते गई, and I think Northwestern was maybe the second or the third only, but उसका curriculum देखते ही I was like, this,
अच्छा,
I want to study this. So in fact when I applied or when I decided I wanted to go here, मुझे नहीं पता था Northwestern is a tier 1 university. मुझे नहीं पता था that IMC was born at Medill. I did not know how prestigious the school I'm going to is. I also didn't know that the Game of Thrones author is a Medill alum, but
exactly.
But you know, I had none of this information. My decision was solely based on मुझे curriculum बहुत पसंद है, मुझे ये subjects interesting लगते हैं, मुझे ये पढ़ना है. So I started googling. I looked up a lot of curriculum. In all honesty, मुझे याद नहीं है कौन से देखे थे because they didn't interest me. एक चीज मेरे दिमाग में ये भी बहुत clear थी that मुझे एक analytics, I did not want to do an analytics only course. Like I didn't want to do a data course, and I also didn't want to do like a digital marketing course.
Okay.
I was very clear I wanted to do a strategic marketing course. So because मेरे दिमाग में
was Northwestern University the only university in US जो ये course offer कर रहा था?
No, लेकिन मुझे ये एक मिला था. उसके बाद you know, मुझे I really fell in love with the curriculum. I was like, अगर मैं जा रही हूँ तो मैं इसके लिए जा रही हूँ, वरना मैं नहीं जा रही.
तो मतलब यही एक कॉलेज है जहाँ पे आपने एप्लीकेशन डाला?
नहीं, actually I went to a consultancy for my application process, and you know we went to them and they asked me a few questions कि आपको what do you want to do, जैसे आप मुझे पूछ रहे हो, very similar questions.
Right.
And they sort of created a list for me that said, उन्होंने कहा कि आप पहले तो उन्होंने कहा कि आपको exactly पता है आपको कहाँ जाना है, तब क्यों आए हो, but then they said okay, आपको जो करना है वो बहुत specific है, तो हमें थोड़ा टाइम दो, हम एक लिस्ट बनाएंगे. So they made a list. There are a bunch of universities like Georgetown, NYU has a very very similar course. There's also, if I'm not wrong, there's a university. There are 1 or 2 universities in Europe as well. One is Imperial, one is LSE. There's a bunch of other courses.
Right.
I think there's something in Spain as well.
कहाँ से रिजेक्ट्स आए, कहाँ से
So,
एक्सेप्ट्स
मुझे
आए?
अप्लाई नहीं करना था कहीं और. I was very clear, Northwestern or nothing. But you know, they were like नहीं, and obviously parents are also like, आप एक में कैसे अप्लाई कर सकते हो, नहीं मिला तो क्या बैकअप चाहिए. So the second place I applied to was New York University, the SPS school. But इन सारी schools के deadlines अलग-अलग होते हैं. आपका एडमिशन लेटर एंड LOR एंड सब सबमिट करने के लिए. सो मेरे टाइमलाइन में द पहला वन वाज न्यूयॉर्क NYU, सेकंड टाइमलाइन वाज नॉर्थवेस्टर्न, और बाकी सबके लिए काफी टाइम था. एंड टाइमलाइंस ऐसे थे कि मुझे अपना NYU और नॉर्थवेस्टर्न का एडमिट्स या रिजेक्ट्स मिल जाता और फिर भी मेरे पास टाइम रहता. अब हर एप्लीकेशन के साथ एक फी होती है जो आपको देनी होती है, और वो फी चीप नहीं होती. इट्स अ few $100 for each.
What was NWU के लिए क्या application fee कितनी थी?
Somewhere around $100-200. I'm not entirely certain here. वो हर साल चेंज होता रहता है.
Okay, so was there no application fee waiver जैसा कुछ नहीं था?
नहीं, nothing that I had found like that. No waivers for application. So I wanted to be strategic. I wanted to make sure that I'm only putting in the amount of money that I need to put in for this application, because ये जो पूरा application process है, GMAT से लेके visa तक, ये काफी महंगा process है. यहाँ पे भी आप पैसे बचा सको, हाँ क्यों नहीं बचाओगे. So I applied to New York. New York में GMAT की कोई जरूरत नहीं थी, लेकिन Northwestern में जरूरत है. So मैंने अपना GMAT अपनी जॉब के साथ साथ दिया था और मेरा स्कोर 710 था, जो काफी it was in the zone where, you know, this is a safe.
What's the general eligibility requirement for Northwestern University?
See, so the thing with Northwestern is they say anything above 670 is a decent number, because the entire process at Northwestern is very, very holistic. I think that's with most schools in the US, except like an MBA, like a Columbia or something, where you know कि आपको 730-740 के नीचे नहीं मिलेगा. But for most master's programs, they look at it from a more holistic point of view than just your GMAT score. आपके undergrad में क्या scores थे, आपने extra curriculars क्या किए हैं, आपने अपनी जॉब, एंड समटाइम्स वो आपके स्कोर्स पे भी डिपेंड नहीं करता एडमिशन, बिकॉज उनको अपना जो कोहॉर्ट है वो वेल राउंडेड बनाना है.
राइट योर ओवरऑल प्रोफाइल प्लेज अ लॉट इम्पोर्टेंट रोल.
And BBA from India with a decent score, it's not some ऐसा कोई प्रोफाइल नहीं है जो कहीं देखा नहीं हुआ उन्होंने.
Yes. अच्छा, but okay, I have a question, because you mentioned कि Northwestern University 670 के स्कोर पे एडमिशंस लेता है. Do you have someone, do you have friends in your batch जिनके इतने ही मार्क्स आए?
I have no. Honestly, ना किसी ने हमें हमारा GMAT स्कोर पूछा है, ना किसी ने कभी मेंशन किया है. It's never been important. In fact, किसी ने अपनी बैचलर्स डिग्री भी मेंशन नहीं की होगी पूरे प्रोग्राम में. When people go there, the school is so picky and, you know, so I mean, it's just such an intensive program and it's such a well-rounded program that somehow ये कभी topic ही नहीं निकलता. You know, everybody has something or the other. There are people who've come right from undergrad directly to the program. I have a friend who's been a brand manager of a really large company in Latin America. I have another friend who's fresh out of college. So the cohort is just very well. NYU doesn't have an interview process. It doesn't need GMAT. It's a very simple application process. So I think after applying within,
so let's talk about the application process now. How did the application process look like? क्या करा?
So आपको LOR चाहिए, which is your letter of recommendations, जो आपको या तो अपने if you've done a job तो आपको एक job से मिल जाएगा, आपको college से मिल जाएगा.
How many LORs do you require? Just one?
About 2. 2 is at least preferred in most cases. वो अगर अब change हो गया होता, I don't know, but I know I submitted 2 or 3 of them. You of course need your statement of what is it called? Like your essay, like your SOP, statement of purpose. Yeah.
Yes.
You definitely need that, and you have to tailor it to the college that you're applying to, which depends highly on. So you have to do a lot of research कि वो जो आप college apply कर रहे हो वहाँ का previous student profile क्या था, वहाँ से graduate होने के बाद लोग कौन से fields में जाते हैं, because the colleges also want people who will be able to, say if a college does really well with placements in CPG sector, they want people who want to go into that sector.
Right. So I'll come to the placements point as well in this whole conversation.
Sure.
But I want to know कि IELTS या TOEFL देने का कोई need था Northwestern University के लिए?
Yes, you have to give it. I did not have to give it because
Why?
The logic here is that if you come from a university where the primary language of instruction is English, you don't need to give it, because they just want to make sure कि आप classes में समझ पाओगे. So NMIMS, however, is because it's a deemed university, they have their official language of instruction as English. So all I had to do was get a letter from NMIMS that said that our primary language is English, and submit it to both the schools. I did not need to give an IELTS or a TOEFL.
ठीक है. Now moving ahead, talking about specifically about your program, IMC, right? इस प्रोग्राम का acceptance rate कैसा है? How many people usually apply for this program, and how many people get through it?
So middle is, honestly, there isn't a lot of information on this.
You just mentioned middle. Can you give our viewers some context कि middle है क्या exactly?
Of course. So Medill is the Medill School of Media, Journalism and IMC is the school within Northwestern University जहाँ पे IMC का program conduct होता है. It is actually, interestingly, also the place where IMC was born. So we had a professor called Don Schultz, who's the father of IMC, if you want to say so. So he started this whole concept, and it's been studied and adapted across the world now. So that's what Medill is. It's a school of journalism and marketing. It's a part of Northwestern. So बहुत सारे लोग जब आप Northwestern बोलते हो, उनके दिमाग में सीधा आता है Kellogg. But IMC is not Kellogg. IMC is Medill. So it's a different school within the university, but yeah, that's where IMC happens.
Okay, that's very nicely put. Now coming back to the acceptance rate wala question.
So it's very there isn't a lot of data on either the acceptance rate or the placement rate of Medill. हम in fact as students भी हम पूछते रहते थे कि भाई कितने लोग place हो गए थे last year, कितने लोग
So do you think the university is hiding something, or
no? I just think no, not at all. In fact, I'll give you an example why I think it's not about hiding anything, is because मेरे batch में we were about 3-4 Indians. 2 of them who had already done their undergrad and had a degree from the US, and then 2 of us who actually flew from here. And both are BBA students. One is Christ, one is NMIMS.
And पूरा batch strength कितना था? पूरे batch में कितने लोग थे?
120-130 approximately.
चलो, let's say 120 लोगों में से सिर्फ 4 Indians थे.
Yeah, actually,
what about other diversities?
So we had a lot of Latin American students, a lot of Chinese students. We had students from Korea, from Taiwan. We had somebody from Thailand. We had students from America, of course. A lot of we had some Indian Americans. We had Asian Americans. The whole lot. So it was a fairly well-rounded batch, and I think it was one of my favorite things about the program, because of course I had my group of Indian friends in Evanston from other programs in Northwestern, but I really got a chance to interact with people who come from very different backgrounds, who come from very different cultures, and we know that marketing is about understanding people.
Of course.
This was really, really helpful, because everybody had such a different point of view, and they brought such a different perspective to the table. definitely one of my favorite parts.
तो
But
ये काफी अच्छी बात है, मतलब for our viewers जो ये वीडियो देख रहे हैं, in Northwestern University, then you'll find a lot of people from different cultures and backgrounds.
this is
You
about
won't
middle
just find
again. Yeah, this is purely about middle, not Northwestern as a whole, because I can't comment on that. But again, coming back to your question about acceptance, right? So, ये देख के कोई भी बोलेगा that इंडिया से जाने के लिए अगर आप जा रहे हो तो आपका एक्सेप्टेंस रेट कम होगा, लेकिन हमारे जस्ट नेक्स्ट बैच में 12 लड़कियां थी ओनली फ्रॉम बॉम्बे. It really depends on your profile. It depends on उनके पास बाकी कितने applicants आ रहे हैं, कैसे प्रोफाइल के applicants आ रहे हैं, उसके हिसाब से they will decide whether you're being brought in or not.
But you mentioned कि 12 Indian students came in the next batch. Right? So let's talk about profile now.
Sure.
You also have some work experience before you made up your decision to study abroad, right? So do you think work ex काफी important है for the program IMC and in Northwestern University?
No.
Why do you say that?
Because the program had equal number of people who were fresh out of college. I mean, I can't say equal, but a very comparable number of people who were fresh out of college and people who had a lot of experience. There were people जिनके पास 5 साल 6 साल का experience था. ऐसे भी लोग थे जो अभी मतलब अंडरग्रेड जस्ट अभी खत्म किया है और मई में खत्म किया और जून में और सितंबर में मास्टर्स के लिए आए हैं. ऐसे भी लोग काफी थे. So मुझे नहीं लगता that it's something so important.
अच्छा, okay, चलो, understood. Now, because we are already talking about your batch strength and everything, right? It only makes sense कि हम.
Sorry, I just have to say that when it comes to work experience, right? I definitely do recommend having some amount of experience before you go into the program, simply because आपको जो भी सिखाया जाएगा आपके लिए वो understand करना, apply करना in your head becomes a lot easier when you have certain amount of experience.
So what's that some amount of experience? मतलब उसको numbers में बताओ please. How many years of experience?
1 to 2 years should be fine.
अच्छा. And because it's a marketing field, so do you need to have a very relevant job experience? Maybe marketing field से ही कुछ चाहिए या फिर कुछ और भी आप pursue करके apply कर सकते हो?
नहीं, अगर आपको interest है field में तो आप जा सकते हो.
अच्छा, okay, perfect. So now, as I was saying कि because हम तुम्हारे बैच की भी बात कर रहे हैं, now it only makes sense कि हम फैकल्टी के बारे में भी बात करें. तो अपने फैकल्टी के बारे में कुछ बताओ. कौन थे ये फैकल्टीज, कौन थे ये प्रोफेसर्स, इनका बैकग्राउंड क्या है, कहाँ से आ रहे हैं ये लोग?
मिडिल की फैकल्टी काफी बड़ी है इन द सेंस दैट मैं आपको जो बताऊंगी ऐसे एटलीस्ट 10 और फैकल्टी होंगी जिनसे मैंने कोई भी क्लासेस नहीं लिए हैं लेकिन किसी और ने लिए होंगे. That's actually the beauty of the program. But the faculty is it's excellent. It's got some really good people on board. So if I give you some examples, one of my professors was the ex-CMO of Deloitte. One of my faculties was the creative director of a big multinational agency. One of them was a media executive, again from a really huge agency in the US. We also had the ex-CM of McDonald's, actually is one of our faculty. There's a lot of visiting faculty. So we have people coming in from Google, you have people coming in from Silicon Valley to sort of take classes, certain subjects. So the faculty definitely is very qualified. Even in the start, you have, the best part is that all of this faculty is either currently practicing or has had extensive practice in the real world, which means the classes are full of anecdotes and examples from their work life. So anything they teach you will be complemented with, this is a project I worked on and this is what we did and this is what we happened. The kind of people that they bring in for guest lectures are also very relevant. So the best part I think about this program is that it's not tactical, it's very strategic. Which means whatever you're being taught, आपको लंबे समय तक वो चीज काम आएगा. It's a really thought-shaping program instead of here are 3 tools you can use. And secondly, it's very real time. So आप जो भी cases पढ़ोगे, आप जो भी examples देखोगे, nothing is 1980s. It's now. ये अभी हुआ है, ये अभी हो रहा है. तो जो brands भी आप सब the brands that you even
So, because you mentioned case studies, and we also know how Indian education in Indian colleges, काफी case study heavy programs होते हैं,
yeah.
right? We emphasize on case studies a lot. So, what was the most recent case study that you did in your college, and which might be very interesting to you? कुछ बता सकते हो उसके बारे में?
Okay, most recent. मुझे इतना exactly तो याद नहीं होगा, but we actually we had somebody from, in the US there's a brand called Halo Top. It's a startup, kind of like, it's not a huge Häagen-Dazs or an Amul, but it's a protein, low fat, healthy ice cream kind of brand. So we had their executive come in and sort of take us through what and how Halo Top did, what they grew into and stuff like that. So that was definitely, because हम grocery store में जाके वो brand देखते हैं रोज. So वो काफी relatable था. We also had, in the US there's a yogurt brand called Chobani that's huge. We had a case study on Chobani. Again, it's a brand that you see and use every single day. Really studying about it is very, very useful, and it's actually something that, in fact, that case study, I was working at that time back in India, and I sent it to to my colleagues back here, and I said, read this, because it's going to help you even think about your business currently. So it was a really, really interesting case study.
That's nice. That's nice. Now I have a trivial question अभी faculties के बारे में, because you mentioned कि faculties का background इतना अच्छा है,
Yes.
work experience इतना अच्छा है. ये faculties क्या, अगर इनसे अच्छा networking हम कर लें, तो can a student look for a decent placement opportunity through these faculties only?
Absolutely. There's a lot of
ऐसा कोई केस हुआ है कि जब किसी faculty ने ही placements के लिए मदद
I
करी?
I know of people who've gotten internships because of this, because of the faculty that we have. I also know some people who've gotten jobs, not particularly only from my batch, but also from previous batches. Definitely has happened. The faculty is very, very open and welcoming. And one of the difference that I've noticed between my undergrad here and my master's there is how the faculty treats you. Here you are treated as students, there you're treated as professionals. So they are very helpful. They're very willing to help. They're always connected. I'm still connected to some of my faculty. I speak with them once every few months. They've really turned into great mentors for me. So definitely, if you network well, if you're going to the US for a master's and you want a placement, especially आज के economic environment में, तो आपको networking करना ही पड़ेगा. Everywhere is a networking opportunity. Yes.
Okay. So now let's jump to courses and curriculum. Right. MS in IMC, Integrated Marketing Communication. इसके कुछ curriculum के बारे में बता पाओगे? What were the subjects जो तुम सीख रहे थे, and what were the other things जहाँ पे तुम लोग indulge हो रहे थे during the whole program?
Sure. So IMC as a course, number one, एक set curriculum नहीं है. उन्होंने जो किया है वो, so it's a 5-quarter program, not semesters, quarters. पहले क्वार्टर में आपको फाउंडेशन कोर्सेज लेने होंगे, जैसे strategic management, consumer insight, financial accounting. There's one more which I'm forgetting. You'll have foundational courses. In the second one, you choose. So उन्होंने streams create किए हैं. So media is a stream. Brand strategy is a stream. Strategic communication is a stream. And then you have data as a stream. So इन चारों में से research was the fourth one. I'm sorry. So आप इन चारों में से कोई भी 2 या 3 सिलेक्ट कर सकते हैं जिसका आपको फाउंडेशनल कोर्स करना है. You have to take 3 at least. उसके बाद जो थर्ड क्वार्टर होता है उसमें आप हर स्ट्रीम के नीचे there's a long list of courses that you can take. There are also courses that are not related to the stream. So anybody can take, like for example, there's a course called Customer Value Innovation. Anybody can take the course. But then there's also a course called Media Strategy that only somebody who's done media foundations can do. So that's how the entire course is set up, where they really let you, आप अपना खुद का path बना सकते हो, आप अपना खुद का specialization बना सकते हो. You can be a brand and data masters, you can be a media and data masters. It really depends on आपको इसके बाद क्या करना है, आपको किस चीज में इंटरेस्ट आ रहा है.
So as per your answers, मतलब तुमने फिर बहुत ही ज्यादा strategic planning के around अपना course and curriculum बनाया, right?
So yes, so my specialization was in media and brand strategy.
Okay.
I tried data, could not do it. So I decided to, but I still had a foundation, right? So मैंने अपना एक foundation जो basics था वो मैंने कर लिया है. So that it's not that मुझे बिल्कुल ही कुछ, if somebody has a conversation to me about data, it's not like I'll be blank. I might not be as great as a data analyst, but I can participate and understand the conversation, which is the whole reason that they have those foundation courses. So मैंने media और brand strategy choose किया था, with a few additional courses, like I said, customer value innovation being one of them, which were just to add. They were really interesting. Decided to do it. Was the logic behind it? So that's how the curriculum is shaped. You have so after the third quarter, in the third quarter, like I said, you can choose between. You can do 4 courses. You can do 4 courses in every quarter. By the end, you can actually choose to do just 3 if that's what you want. But I was like, मैं इतने पैसे देके आई हूँ, मैं पूरा करूँगी. I will do
चलो,
it.
अब तो पैसे की बात आ गई है, अब पैसे के बारे में जानते हैं, ठीक है? Before we jump into some other section,
sure.
Let's talk about cost of tuition for you. What was the cost of tuition, and how were you paying it?
Disclaimer: IMC is one of the most expensive marketing programs in the US. There is no denying it. The total expenditure came to about $1 lakh, which is definitely a lot. For me, I was lucky enough.
Total expenditure मतलब cost of living and cost
everything,
of सब कुछ मिला के ना?
Yes. So the cost of just the tuition is somewhere around $60,000-$70,000, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
They give you an estimate when you apply. So depending on the inflation, depending on how rent prices and stuff is going, they will give you an estimate when you're applying it itself. मतलब आपके जो visa forms होते हैं उनमें से एक में actually लिखा हुआ होता है, this is how much you might need. For me, I was lucky enough to have parents who could afford it, who could afford to send me for it. So that's how I paid for it.
So you did not take any loan, right?
No, I did not have a loan.
Okay. And talking about the inflation part of your fees, every year कितने percentage पे inflation हो रहा है fees पे? Do you have any idea?
Unsure. No, I have no idea.
Okay. चलो, all right. Now cost of tuition तो तुमने बता दिया. Okay. Now let's say if I have to apply to this particular course, right? Now I don't have that kind of money. What scholarships option do I have for myself? Are there any? या कुछ भी नहीं है?
I did not find any. Whatever scholarships that you find on the school website and the directory there are not valid for. There's nothing for Indian students. Nothing that we found. Nothing that my partners found either. There are a lot for American students, definitely. But I did not find anything for Indian students at Northwestern.
So no scholarships for Indian students?
None that I found, no. There are a few private scholarships that you could hunt for.
Such as?
Honestly, not sure. But I know people who have taken some they are not large scholarships, so it's not like a full ride. It's a small amount in the larger frame of things, but there are.
Now cost of tuition is covered. Let's come to the cost of living, which is humongous, right? Firstly, jab 2021 में when you landed up in US, where were you staying? Was it a on-campus accommodation या फिर off-campus situation था?
I had taken an off-campus house.
Okay.
Basically, जब भी
ढूंढा कैसे?
Yes, that's what I'm getting to. So, जब भी आप Northwestern, in fact, I think this is true for most US universities, but I'll talk about Northwestern. When you get an admit, आप Facebook पे जाओ और ढूंढो, आपको मिल जाएगा उस साल का admit students का group. जैसे ही आप उसको join करोगे, somebody will reach out to you, and some saint somewhere has created a WhatsApp group. So there's a Northwestern student. So it's across the university. आप कोई भी program के लिए जा रहे हो, PhD के लिए जा रहे हो, masters के लिए जा रहे हो, doesn't matter. It's a whole group. जहाँ पे
इन ग्रुप्स के नाम याद है? Shout out देना चाहोगे इन ग्रुप्स को?
I don't remember the name, but the WhatsApp group is called Northwestern Students 2023.
Okay.
Fall 2023, I think. But इसमें लोग ऐड होते रहते हैं. Next year के भी कुछ लोग हैं इसमें. But that's where you can find roommates. A lot of people will even sell stuff on it. जब खत्म हो रहा है तब लोग बेच भी देंगे. But that's how I mean I got added to. So after I got my admit, I know the other friend who was with me in the program. She reached out to me. Added me to this group, and she had already found a roommate by then, and she wanted to live on campus, so that was not an option for us. But I found a roommate on that group, and then together we started hunting for housing. There's definitely a bunch of help that Northwestern will give you after you're admitted. They'll tell you which sites, but also these groups itself will be a lot of help. आप Google भी कर सकते हो housing in Evanston for students. आपको एज अ नॉर्थवेस्टर्न स्टूडेंट आपको डिसाइड करना है कि आपको एवंस्टन में रहना है या शिकागो में. आई वाज वेरी क्लियर कि इतना ट्रैवल नहीं करेंगे, इसलिए हम
What's if you want to tell us miles में कि कितना miles का difference है एवंस्टन और शिकागो का?
So of course Chicago is a fairly big city, so it's anywhere between 20 to 40 minutes away from Evanston. अच्छा. But क्या हो जाता है कि या तो आपको पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट लेना पड़ेगा, जिसके लिए आपको टाइम बहुत माइन्यूटली कोऑर्डिनेट करना होगा. प्राइवेट के लिए अगर आप उबर ले रहे हो तो वो महंगा हो जाता है, एंड विंटर एंड एवरीथिंग में वो डाइसी भी हो जाता है टू ट्रैवल सो मच. प्लस आपकी अगर 2 क्लासेस के बीच में ब्रेक है तो आप वापस नहीं जाओगे, आपको वहीं कहीं पे रहना होगा. ऑल्सो ऑफ कोर्स एवंस्टन इज अ लॉट सेफर देन शिकागो. मेरे पेरेंट्स का ये भी कंसर्न था कि शिकागो हैज वन ऑफ द हाईएस्ट क्राइम रेट्स. व्हाट आर वी गोइंग टू डू अबाउट इट? बट एवंस्टन इज वेरी वेरी सेफ.
When you say very safe, do you have any incident to narrate कि ठीक है रात में हम, because Mumbai in general is very safe, right? People can stroll around midnight. Is it the same in Evanston?
It's actually it's like Mumbai. कुछ एरियाज है जो आपको पता है आपको नहीं जाना है, वहाँ मत जाओ. जो आपके एरियाज है, जैसे I mean I have walked home from a friend's house at 12 in the night. I have walked to and from on the roads at 10, 11 in the night, and I've even 1 in the night, and it's not been a problem. However, the nicest part is that in a certain area in Evanston around the main university campus, Northwestern has something called Safe Ride. It starts at around 8 in the evening up to I think 2 or 3 at night. It's basically like a free service to take you to and from either to and from any college building, or B, to and from any 2 points in that given radius.
Okay.
And I was lucky enough that my house in most cases was in that radius.
So yeah, Safe Ride is a what? Is it a platform application?
Yeah, it's like an Uber. Yeah, it's like an Uber app, but it's free. So obviously wait times and all also can be 1 hour, 7 minutes, things like that in the winters, especially when the demand is high. But there, in all honesty, there have been violence instances while I was there. There were definitely moments where we felt scared, and when we locked our houses and stayed inside, but it's nothing different from Bombay. I would still say Evanston is very very safe as compared to Chicago. It's all right. It's also a very small town, right? So या तो आपको college students दिखेंगे या फिर 60 plus दिखेंगे. So everything around is college driven. So there are a lot of coffee shops, there are restaurants and stuff. Everything is college driven.
So it's safe to say that it's a college city, right?
It's a college town, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. अच्छा चलो अभी पैसे के बारे में बात कर लेते हैं, जिसको we missed, right?
Yeah.
Talking about your accommodation, what was your accommodation costing you? And yes.
Okay. So it's important to mention that I had certain criteria जब मैं अपना accommodation ढूंढ रही थी. So मेरे लिए बहुत clear था that I will not share the house with more than 1 person. So it'll be me and a roommate. मुझे नहीं चाहिए था कि हम 3-4 लोग हों, simply because I'm an only child. I have grown up in a way that I've not had to share my room and stuff, and I did not want to go to another country and get into a lot of people told me if you have a lot of roommates तो बहुत सारा politics होगा, बहुत सारा ये होगा, वो होगा, कलेश होगा.
Yes.
I said okay, I'm just going to live with 1 person and that's it. I was also very clear कि मुझे अपना bathroom चाहिए. because जब सुबह उठ के आपको 7 बजे कॉलेज पहुंचना है, then bathroom management is a problem. So मेरे ये 2 criteria थे, which is why I needed a 2-bed 2-bath, which is very very uncommon in the US in general. There's a 2-bed 1-bath situation in most cases, but of course there are still 2-bed 2-baths, no doubt. I found a roommate who also had the same criteria, so that was great for us. We used like a accommodation service called BJB. They basically do student housing, so they have a bunch of, उनके बहुत सारे buildings है Evanston में जो वो students को rent out करते हैं, और ऐसे BJB के अलावा भी ऐसे काफी सारे property management companies है जो ये करते हैं, because again like I said, because ये student town है, आपके लिए कुछ भी ढूंढना बहुत आसान है. So we basically looked for a housing. We did an online tour of the house. हम दोनों के minds में एक budget था, जो budget था around 2000. We were like no, not even 2000, around 1300 1400. हमने तय किया था कि हम उसके ऊपर नहीं जाएंगे.
$1300-1400 for a month.
Dollar, yes. But important to mention again that आपको $3000 का भी वहाँ पे घर मिलेगा और $750 का भी मिलेगा.
Okay, and what's the difference between $750 and $1300 वाला?
So 750 will obviously be a smaller house. It might be a 1-bed hall kitchen where the hall is converted into a room for another person. 1300, like I said, I had a really good sized house. Through a lot of parties, so we had a lot of space. 3000 वाले जो होंगे वो फिर नए buildings में होंगे जहाँ पे gymnasium है, pool है, co-working area.
सारे services.
Yeah, so it really depends on the facilities in that case.
Okay, all right. And apart from just this fixed cost, which is the rent, additional costs क्या थे? Additional expenses क्या थे? Let's say चलो एक महीने का मुझे पूरा ब्रेकअप दो अपने खर्चे का.
तो एडिशनल कॉस्ट में पहला तो आप जाओगे तब आपको घर सेटअप करने के लिए कॉस्ट लगेगा. वो कम्प्लीटली आपके ऊपर डिपेंड करता है कि आपको कितने हद तक सेटअप करना है. सो मैं और मेरी रूममेट बहुत क्लियर थे, हमें एक सोफा, एक टेबल चाहिए हॉल में, 2 चेयर चाहिए जिसपे बैठ के हम खा सके, क्योंकि हमारे पास एक किचन आइलैंड था. रूम में आप आई नो पीपल जो सिर्फ मैट्रेस पे सोते थे, एंड that's what they thought was okay. मेरे रूम में there was a table जो मैंने thrift किया था, so it was like $5-10. But I had a bed, a mattress, a side table. I had some decorative pieces because I wanted it to feel like home. आप pillows लोगे, वो आपका एक बड़ा खर्चा आ जाएगा. But the best part about this is कि आपका जब ये प्रोग्राम खत्म होगा, आप ये सब बेच सकते हो, तो आपको around 50% वापस आ जाएगा.
अच्छा, तो चलो टॉकिंग इन नंबर्स नाउ, ये सब कुछ पूरा हाउस सेटअप का कॉस्ट कितना लगा था तुम्हारा इनिशियली?
About $1000, including utensils, bed frame, mattress, everything.
ठीक है, so $1000 वो हो गए एक महीने का खर्चा, initially at least.
Initial, yeah.
Then your rent was $1200-1300,
yeah.
Right? What all expenses were you doing on your groceries? What all and traveling पे कितना expense था? And back utilities.
So traveling, if you mean to and fro college, nothing. I used to walk. Groceries around $40-45, but that's also because हम घर पे खाना बनाते थे, हम 2 meals ही बनाते थे हम, but at the same time हम things like avocado, we used to get sourdough bread, we also used to eat that kind of food, so $40-50 approximately. हम दोनों हमेशा मतलब we needed milk every day, so हमारे घर में milk हमेशा होता था. So वो सब मिला के around $40-50 a week. And then weekends, honestly, आपके ऊपर depend करता है. आप बाहर जाओगे तो $100 भी खर्च के आ सकते हो, $20 में भी खत्म कर सकते हो. तो it really depends on you. But I would say that about $1,000 on the upper side, upper side. Is good, including this would include random shopping, this would include some stuff that you had to, some clothes that you had to buy, some any sort of emergency expenditure or something like that. It would include all of that, and per month $500 to $750 is good enough to live a good
okay all right. So now, because you're done with your whole course, सब कुछ
Yeah.
खत्म हो चुका है यूएस में, right? If you look back, ये जो रेंट का महीने भर का ये जो पूरा कॉस्ट है that you're spending on your living cost, इसमें से कितना कॉस्ट you think maybe तुम उस टाइम पे बचा सकती थी?
Honestly, कुछ भी नहीं, बिकॉज वी वर वेरी वेरी फ्रूगल. हमने हमारे केस में सिर्फ एक चीज जो हम बचा सकते थे वो था कि हम सेकेंड हैंड बेड फ्रेम लेते, लेकिन हम कोविड के जस्ट बाद गए थे, सो वी वर नॉट श्योर कि हम कैसे ले. जैसे लाइक आई सेड, हमारे बाद जो बैच था, मेरा बेड फ्रेम से लेके मेरा मैट्रेस सब उनके पास है. So they got it obviously for a lot cheaper than I did. They also got a very similar house configuration as ours for a much lower cost, in a different building that's maybe a little further away, like 2-5 minutes further away. वो डिपेंड करता, मतलब वो पॉसिबल है कि जब हम ढूंढ रहे थे तब था ही नहीं मार्केट पे. This is also very possible. So I would say we were very frugal with our expenses. We were not splurging at all. But definitely both of us had, both me and my roommate had certain, जैसे like I said, हमें सुबह दूध चाहिए था, हमें lunch dinner चाहिए था घर का. So that was on us.
चलो, perfect. All right. I guess जो viewers हमारे इस वक्त ये इंटरव्यू देख रहे हैं, just don't spend a lot back in US, ठीक है? थोड़ा सा खर्चे पे कंट्रोल करना. Anyways, now moving ahead to a very important topic, which will be around jobs and placements.
Sure.
Let's talk about job opportunities related to your program. Firstly, job opportunities है कहाँ? Foreign है भी, इंडियन स्टूडेंट के लिए है भी यूएस में या नहीं है? कितने वॉल्यूम में है, राइट? एंड व्हाट आर सम पॉपुलर प्लेसेस जहाँ पे तुम्हारे कॉलेज से तुम्हारे प्रोग्राम से स्टूडेंट्स जाके जॉब्स कर रहे हैं?
So, in terms of places, like geographically, a lot of students stay back in Chicago. I have friends who've gotten jobs in San Francisco, Texas, Boston. I have friends who've, New York definitely is also very popular as a location, because marketing in New York is a thriving industry. But a large chunk of people stay back in Chicago. In terms of the areas that they go into, agencies is definitely a big one. So everything from a consulting and at BCG to a Leo Burnett has middle students. Pinterest, people go into places like Pinterest again. I also have friends who've gotten into the client side. So people who've gotten into places like Under Armour. Places like, I have a friend who works with a Latin American company that's just starting, or rather trying to expand in the US. She has a great role. I have a friend who's gotten into a lot of these like research firms like Nielsen and Mintel, etc. So that's also somewhere where data students will tend to get placed there. We have a lot of students that go into product development. So when I say Pinterest and stuff, they become product managers in those kind of companies. Definitely the Medill Alum Network is very, very vast and very helpful. So like I said, because you're in a college city, आपको न्यूयॉर्क में जितने नेटवर्किंग अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिलेंगे, इन पर्सन नेटवर्किंग अपॉर्चुनिटीज, उतने आपको एवंस्टन में नहीं मिलेंगे.
Of course.
If you use the Medill Alum Network, right, there's inroads to a lot of places. Everybody is very, very helpful to speak to. I mean, I still speak to students who want to apply to Medill, or who want to come back, or who want to, what courses do I take? I think every quarter I've spoken to at least one student who's called and said, "Aapne ye course kiya tha, I saw you done this, kaisa tha?" So the Alum Network is really helpful. Like
so we'll come to your alumni network, and so I have a question, which is, you mentioned a lot of industries, agencies के बारे में बात करी, consulting roles के बारे में बात करी, product side बात करी, and so on and so forth, right? इन सभी segments में what is the initial salary package जो
it depends on your you can't tell because आपके background पे depend करता है. अगर आप fresher हैं,
कुछ approximation तो होगा ना, या तुम्हारे कुछ seniors होंगे जिनका
at least so even freshers will expect somewhere around at least a 90K. I know students who've gotten 130K as well, but these are students with a good amount of experience, 3-4 years of experience. But freshers will expect at least but you also get offered jobs that are 60K, 75K. It depends on the economy, it depends on the position, it depends on the experience that you have. and it just depends on the company as a whole, as in what is that company's pay level. So it's very, very wide ranging, and you have to know how to negotiate your worth.
And for your program, NWU का placement rate कैसा है?
Excellent.
100% placement जैसे हर Indian university बोलती है?
So depend करता है placement rate कैसे बोल रहे हो. Like I said, I know friends who got a job 6 months after passing out of university. So I think about at least 80 to 85% students who get placed within 6 months. There is of course gray area जहाँ हमें नहीं पता, कुछ लोग जैसे उनको नहीं पता कि मेरा placement हो गया है. Right. I'm in India, so मेरा जो भी salary है, मेरा जो भी placement है, वो शायद उनके data में इतना correctly reflect नहीं होता. A lot of students also go out and freelance, so वो भी reflect नहीं होगा. But definitely very few people who but again I have to mention that the year that we've graduated, the US job market has not been great.
Yes.
So it's been difficult, 100% been difficult to get jobs. For people across, even engineering students have found it difficult to get jobs.
Right. अच्छा, अगर मैं जनरल पर्सपेक्टिव के बारे में बात करूं, so ये जो रिसेशन years थे and इससे पहले वाले जो बैचेस थे, what was the difference in the earnings जो इन दोनों बैचेस को मिल रहे थे? Do you have any idea about it?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
चलो ठीक है, okay.
Not sure.
Now because we are on the topic of jobs, part-time jobs is something जो international students के लिए बहुत important होता है, right? And during your studies, were you doing any part-time job?
So Medill does not recommend taking up any part-time jobs because the course is accelerated. जिसका मतलब है ये बहुत intense course है. आपको every day कोई ना कोई assignment होगा, every day कुछ readings करके class में जाना है. It's a very fast-paced program, so they don't recommend it unless you have to. I know people who've done it on campus jobs जो उन्होंने किए हैं. It's not that नहीं मिलते हैं. But
क्या on campus jobs होता है?
Everything from sitting at the reception at the gymnasium to admin roles. In the 5th quarter, I did do a job. I was a TA, teaching assistant for a professor. So that paid me some amount of money, but that only happens in your 5th quarter. It does not happen before that generally.
अच्छा, so ये जो TA and RA positions होती हैं and ये जो general
there's no RA for there are very few positions for RA.
Yes. So ये जो TA positions हैं and जो बाकी basic part-time jobs की position है, maybe sitting at a reception or something like that, क्या इनके pay में भी difference होता है? And what was the pay that you were getting?
So I got minimum wage. I did not get
which was?
I want to say somewhere around.
Why somewhere around? You can tell me this.
I would love to tell you. I have nothing to hide. I just can't think of it. It was round figure $20 an hour. Round figure. 12. It can be like 16 to 22 around that number somewhere. But I know people who got $30. I know people who got $12 as well per hour.
ठीक है, ये $30 कैसे मिल रहा है लोगों को?
वो डिपेंड करता है आप कौन से डिपार्टमेंट में जा रहे हो, कौन सा टाइप का रोल है. There will be some departments paying higher, some paying lower. It's very.
All right. And how many hours as a week में कितने hours काम करना होता है?
So as a TA, we didn't have equal number of hours every week. Some weeks it was 7 to 8 hours. Some week it was even like 12-15 hours when grading is going on. So, but it's not, as a TA, it's not too hectic.
All right. So regarding jobs, US में there's a procedure of CPT and OPT, right? उसके बारे में कुछ बता सकते हो?
CPT college helps you through it, through and through. It's very simple if you just follow their instructions. You have a counselor who's assigned to you, so there is absolutely no stress about it. Just do what they say.
My first question is, because our viewers are, let's just assume that they're very naive, right? CPT है क्या पहली बात?
So CPT is a application that you need to be able to do an internship that is relevant to your program. It is not, if I'm a marketing student, I cannot go and do an internship at at a finance company. It has to be related to the program I am studying. So in IMC in your 4th quarter, you do something called an immersion quarter, which is where you are put into groups with other students and you are assigned a company and a project in that company जहाँ पे आपके साथ faculty भी रहती है but they are not actively involved. So you're basically like a management intern sort of thing. So you're not an intern but you're not an employee. You're somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
You're like a student consultant. इसके लिए आपको CPT चाहिए होती है, जिसके लिए again you know the team at Northwestern is extremely helpful. They will send you multiple reminders. They will do calls to help you understand the process. It's really difficult to mess it up. Then OPT.
Talking about the OPT now.
Yes, OPT is when you're done with your graduation and you want to go for a job. So CPT आपके college पे dependent होता है, OPT government पे dependent होता है.
अच्छा.
So OPT is when you graduated and you're going in to apply for a job. That's where you need your OPT, and then you need like your, you know, then only then does your F1 visa, because with IMC is now a STEM program and you have those 2 years of work experience, but you need your OPT. And for your there are multiple time frames here that you have to be careful about. So within X number of months you have to get a job, within X, you know, within, it's valid from this date to this date. So you have to be strategic about it. But again, like I said, the team at Northwestern is super helpful. There's always you know, like you'll have a number where you can call and be like, okay, what do I do? They'll help you out. There's no problem at all. There are multiple information sessions, question session, you know, like question hours where you can ask questions. It's completely easy.
अच्छा, now we're still on the jobs part. तो ये career fairs वगैरह कुछ होते हैं marketing course के लिए?
They do have a few, not a lot. But they do have a few. But again, like I said, networking is key. I would, from my experience, I would say अगर आपको middle के बाद IMC के बाद job चाहिए, please networking करो.
But फिर ये career fairs का existence क्या है? क्या होता क्या है इसमें?
So career fairs are useful because जो companies जो आएंगी campus पे, आपको mock interviews के लिए help होता है. It's not that किसी को jobs नहीं मिलते, वहाँ से jobs भी मिलते हैं. But you get a lot of interview practice. You get to understand कि okay, market में इस position की क्या value होगी, क्या expectation है, क्या role description है, so that when you go for an interview separately, आपको पता होगा what to negotiate on.
ठीक है आस्था, ओके. सो काफी चीजों के बारे में बात कर ली, काफी डिटेल्ड डिस्क्रिप्शन मिला आपकी जर्नी का, राइट? नाउ गिव अस अ फाइनल एडवाइस या ऐसे फाइनल वर्ड्स टू द व्यूअर्स जो कि स्टडी अब्रॉड के बारे में सोच रहे हैं या जस्ट अभी यूएस में लैंड कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज डू यू वांट टू से समथिंग अबाउट दैट?
आई थिंक नो व्हाई यू आर गोइंग फॉर अ मास्टर्स. आपको पता होना चाहिए आपका एंड गोल क्या है. There's no right or wrong end goal. Just because मेरा end goal था that I want to go behind knowledge does not mean that आपका भी वही होना चाहिए. It's completely fine to have your goal be I want a big package. Because लेकिन अगर आपको पहले से ये goal पता होगा, it'll affect everything from which university you're picking, where you're staying, how you're spending your time and money, आप कौन से courses प्रोग्राम में एंटर करने के बाद कौन से कोर्सेज ले रहे हो. इट विल अफेक्ट ऑल ऑफ दोस थिंग्स. सो एंड इट विल आल्सो बी इम्पोर्टेंट टू मेक श्योर. कभी कभी ये डिसीजंस ओवरवेलमिंग हो जाते हैं, कौन सा कोर्स लेना चाहिए, कहाँ जाना चाहिए, क्या करना चाहिए. सो अगर आपका ये गोल डिसाइडेड है, देन इट्स ग्रेट. सेकंड इज बी पेशेंट. इफ यू आर गोइंग देयर टू सेटल देयर, it can be tough, it can take a lot of time, and it can also not happen. So you know, just make sure that you're patient and you're prepared for all possible scenarios, including coming back. And the third is definitely, please don't think it's the end of the world if you have to come back. I think as an industry, India में marketing के लिए जितना scope है, especially with the skill sets that a program like Middle IMC gives you, you'll be fine. I'm fine.
Perfect. Okay, Aastha, thank you so very much. Thank you so much for your time, and it was lovely talking to you.
Thank you. Lovely talking to you too.
So ये था एक बहुत ही डिटेल्ड कॉन्वर्सेशन आस्था के साथ, जिन्होंने अपनी पूरी स्टडी अब्रॉड की जर्नी एक्सप्लेन करी हमें. इफ यू लाइक द वीडियो, हिट द लाइक बटन and subscribe to our channel, and keep following us for more such study abroad content. See you in the next video now.